All right, thank you.
Yeah, this was so wonderful.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
This is my good brother here, Bishop Walters. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we got to meet. Hey, guys, that was a great show too. It's very entertaining.
Thank you.
No problem. No
Thank
problem.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, he does a good job, man, on his sports show right here.
All right.
Oh, thank you, Trevor. I
I'll be listening
appreciate
to him
that.
on my way out.
Yeah, he's good, man.
Yes.
Thank
Bishop,
you.
get back safe, man. All
Thank
right,
you.
I gotta get ready to do his show right now.
All right. Love you,
All right,
man.
All right, man.
Okay.
And we'll talk soon, man.
We will.
All right, call me. Let me know you got home safe and everything. Okay.
I'll do that.
All right,
I'll
man.
do that.
Give my love, okay?
Okay.
All right.
We've been on each other since teens.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's great.
Yes. I'm 59 right now.
Wow, you don't look a day. You don't look close to that at all, man.
Thank you. Oh, goodness.
Now, I hope I look that good. I'm 59.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
The station that serves your community, 1240 WGBB.
Enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Same here. Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Gospel Celebration, your one stop. The station that serves your community, 1240 WGBB.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Be safe, Bishop.
All right.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Celebration. Thank you for tuning in to Gospel Celebration, your one stop. The station that serves your community, 1240 WGBB.
You took me to gospel celebration with Ace and the preacher man. Your life changing gospel radio ministry. WGBB 1240 AM.
This is WGBB AM 1240 and W240 DF-FM 95.9 Freeport, New York.
Here he comes now, the big hand.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'm Mr. Tender. Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. I'm too much. Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. Too much. I never wanna know a day that's over 40 degrees. I'd rather have it 30 when you get time and let it breathe.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, this was so
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
It's my good brother here, Bishop Walters. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we got to meet. Hey, hey, guys, that was a great show too. They're very entertaining.
Thank you.
No problem. No
Thank
problem.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, he does a good job, man, on his sports show right here.
All right.
Oh, thank you, Trevor. I
I'll be listening
appreciate
to him
that.
on my way out.
Yeah, he's good, man.
Yes.
Thank
Bishop,
you.
get back safe, man. All
Thank
right,
you.
I gotta get ready to do his show right now.
All right. Love you,
All right,
man.
All right, man.
Okay.
And we'll talk soon, man.
We will.
All right, call me. Let me know you got home safe and everything. Okay.
I'll do that.
All right,
I'll
man.
do that.
Give my love, okay?
Okay.
All right.
We've been on each other since teens.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's great.
Yes. I'm 59 right now.
Wow, you don't look a day. You don't look close to that at all, man.
Thank you. Oh, goodness.
Now, I hope I look that good. I'm 59.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
To Gospel Celebration, your one style. The station that serves your community, 1240 WGBB.
Enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Same here. Same here.
Thank you.
Your one style Gospel Celebration. Thank you for tuning in to Gospel Celebration, your one style. The station that serves your community, 1240 WGBB.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Be safe, Bishop.
All right.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Celebration. Thank you for tuning in to Gospel Celebration, your one style. The station that serves your community, 1240 WGBB.
With expectancy. Yes, we know you're the best. So we lift our hands in the sanctuary. Glory and honor and praise. Come on, come on. We lift our hands in the sanctuary. Into gospel celebration with Ace and the preacher man. Your life changing gospel radio ministry. WGBB 1240 AM.
This is WGBB AM 1240 and W240 DFFM 95.9 Freeport, New York.
Here he comes now, the big hand.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'm Mr. Tender. Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. Too much.
Defensive coordinator, who's been promoted to head coach, the interim head coach for the final 4 games of the season. He's a guy that Giant fans have known. He was the defensive coordinator for the 2007 team and the 2008 team, actually. But he's got a Super Bowl championship ring. And then following the 2008 season, he went to the St. Louis Rams when they were still in St. Louis to take their head coaching gig. And that's Steve Spagnuolo. He's a good coach. I think it's a good thing that he's getting a second chance here. This guy, that St. Louis Rams team was set up to fail. Those are the teams that drafted Sam Bradford, and just just really they didn't have any pieces there. The ownership was all over the place. Obviously, they're probably looking for their exit strategy to LA even back then, and you know, Spagnuolo had a decent 2010 where he went 7-9, but unfortunately for him, that was sandwiched in between a 1-15 2009 season and a 2-14 2011 season. So when your career record is 10-38 after 3 seasons, it's not going to be expected that you're going to be getting a lot of second chances. But you know, he will get this 4-game audition one way or the other. Most people don't expect him to get it, but you never know. Giants win 3 out of the 4 games. Giants, or even if the Giants just say they go 1-3 down the stretch here, finish the season 3-13 or whatever whatever the deal is. I would say that depending on how they play, depending if it's a competitive games, depending on if the locker room seems to be responding to Spagnuolo, you know, that all of those factors are going to play in to see if he's going to be retained. It wouldn't surprise me if they decide, because a lot of teams like to go the opposite route that they went with their last head coach. Now, just look at it, and this is a trend in all sports. Look in baseball right now. Yankees got rid of supposed tough guy and a guy that's going to really keep your heels to the fire, Joe Girardi, and they replaced him with a much more player-friendly Aaron Boone. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. It's going to play out for Boone's entire tenure as their manager, but that's that's something that they wanted to go in. Even Mickey Callaway, when the Mets hired him, he's a much more player-friendly guy than Terry Collins has been talked about being. And that's the way in sports now. You cater to the athlete doesn't cater to you. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we can debate that at a later time. But right now, the only thing that matters is that right now they want communicators in there. And Ben McAdoo, as we turn our attention back to the Giants, he was not a good communicator. And I guess last year you could say he was a good communicator because they went 11-5. But this year, man, when you're 2-10 and you're sitting in the cellar and you're staring down a potential top 3 pick for the draft next year, that hurts. But when you were expected to be in the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season, that hurts a lot more. And the Jets, who their cap room, the Jets have millions and millions of dollars of cap room. The Giants are right up against it in the cap. So when you look at it, you say to yourself, man, what kind of position do the Giants put themselves in? The Jets are even better than them, and the Jets weren't expected to contend at all this year. And the Giants are going to have to improve that offensive line, which, to be honest, if you could get a franchise offensive lineman in the first round, if I was the Giants, depending on where I'm picking, depending on what quarterbacks is still on the board, I would definitely have to consider that, because the New York Football Giants, they are and it's not only affecting the quarterback's play. I was going to say Eli, but obviously now with Geno too. It not only affects the quarterback's play, but it really it really stops their run game. They really need to build a run game, and I'm not saying they have a great running back right now. Darkwell's pretty good, and they got a couple other guys back there, but for the most part, these guys aren't great halfbacks, and you're going to need a really good offensive line to get a game-changing performance out of these guys. But so Spagnuolo's first test will be against the division rival Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. They have the opportunity to play spoiler, as the Cowboys are 6-6. They're in the playoff hunt. Cowboys beat the Giants in Dallas earlier this year, 19-3. They play tomorrow at MetLife at 1. And one thing that I do want to stress here is that Spagnuolo's already off on the right foot with Giant fans, and don't think he isn't. This is a guy that he starts Eli Manning, so he's got that going for him. Giant fans already like him because he was the defensive coordinator, as we mentioned, for that 2007 team that won the Super Bowl out of nowhere. It's a big situation for them. It's something where they're really gonna have to keep their head in a swivel. And like I was getting at earlier, actually, I got caught up in it, but I believe the Giants are gonna probably not keep Spagnuolo, and they're probably going to go the route of a proven coach. A lot of people have spoken about Bill Cowher. A lot of people have spoken about other established names like that. Gruden's name comes up all the time, although I don't see Gruden leaving the booth. He's got a great life right now. He's making a ton of money, and he's talking football, and he doesn't have to deal with all the pressures of coaching. Same thing with Cowher. The only difference between him and Cowher is that Cowher's actually alluded to the fact that one of the few jobs that could entice him to come out of retirement is the Giant job. So, it's going to be a lot of decision making. It looks like the Giants have put Ernie Accorsi as a key name in there. He's the former GM too, and it looks like he's going to be doing the job to get a general manager, and after they pick the general manager, that's when they'll go get the coach. That's the way it seems to be, at the moment. And it's the New York Giants. This is a very quickly became a transition season. Now these final 4 games, it's just about pride for the most part, and let's see how much pride this team has. You have a lot of guys that have underperformed this year. You have Olivier Vernon. That entire defense, all of these guys, they got cornerbacks out there that look like they have no business playing cornerback. It's going to be a down the stretch. Don't discount these 4 games because we might be getting a good glimpse into what the Giants are not only looking for this year but next year as well. So that's something that the Giants really have to look forward to, and well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, our first break of the day, and we're going to really break down this Yankees and Marlins trade when we get back. That's something that I really can't wait to see the details on, because you never know what is going to be coming out of that. But we'll get into that in a minute. Thank you for joining us this morning on Coffee with Cramer, and we'll be right back.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken. Yeah, it looks like mom might be going out. Don't let salmonella get chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use the thermometer.
All right, so we'll come back to that.
To the right temperature. Keep your family safe. And next break, if you don't, I'll take back to work.
Thanks, Trevor.
We got it. Este sonido que hace la salmonella mientras baila sobre su polvo medio. Y para que se pueda malo a sacar del horno antes del tiempo. Aproximadamente 1 de cada 6 norteamericanos se enfermará por causa de la infección. Mientras se evita aunque uno mantiene la población de 65 de
All right, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Cramer, and it's This Day in Sports History, presented to you by Farrell's Sports Bar and Grill. Farrell's Sports Bar and Grill is located at 2819 North Jerusalem Avenue in East Meadow, New York. Farrell's is an establishment with a long history, and it's now under new management. If their friendly staff and great kitchen doesn't bring you in, their drink specials during all the games will. $3 shot specials during games, and it's all top shelf. Wild Turkey, Jameson, Fireball, and more. They have all the games you want. Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Islanders, Jets, Giants, and any other game you want, just ask them and they'll put it on. Come down and enjoy their family-friendly, laid-back atmosphere, and don't forget to try the house sauce of the day if you order the wings. Come down to Farrell's Sports Bar and Grill, open every day at 11 a.m. Farrell's, a great bar for a great time. All right, now on this day in sports history, on December 9th, 1934, the New York Giants win their second NFL championship, beating the previously undefeated Chicago Bears 30-13. On this day, December 9th, 1965, Frank Robinson is traded to the Baltimore Orioles from the Cincinnati Reds for three players who didn't have much success at the Reds, but Frank Robinson, however, would go on to have one of the best seasons of all time in 1966 as he won the American League Triple Crown, the League MVP award. His Orioles swept the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series, and Robinson would also tie up the MVP of that series as well. As we continue on, December 9th, 1984, the LA Rams defeat the Houston Oilers 27-16 as Eric Dickerson rushed for 215 yards, becoming just the second person in NFL history to ever rush for 2,000 yards in a season, joining O.J. Simpson. On December 9th, 1988, the Yankees sign a $500 million TV deal with the MSG Network, making them the home of Yankee baseball for the next 13 years. This would take them through their most recent dynasty in the late 90s, all the way until the dawn of the Yes Network in 2002. On December 9th, 1991, Dan Marino throws for 3 touchdowns in a 37-13 win over the Cincinnati Bengals, becoming the first quarterback ever to throw for at least 20 touchdowns in his first 9 seasons. He'd make that 10 before getting injured in 1993 and snapping that streak. And finally, on December 9, 2004, NHL and union officials met for the first time since Commissioner Gary Bettman imposed a lockout on September 16th of that year. Unfortunately, they could not come to an agreement, paving the way for the longest lockout ever, losing the entire 04-05 season, the only team in North American professional sports, the only league, in North American professional sports history to lose an entire season due to a work stoppage. And that was also the only year since 1919 that the NHL did not crown a Stanley Cup champion. All right, and that's everything, ladies and gentlemen, and that's This Day in Sports History, brought to you by Farrell's Sports Bar and Grill. Don't forget, Farrell's, a great bar for a great time. All right, well, we'll get to that Yankee stuff now, as John Heyman, as I mentioned earlier at the onset of the show, breaking news, the New York Yankees are about to acquire outfielder and reigning National League MVP Giancarlo Stanton. And this will be the second time in the last 15 years that the Yankees have acquired a reigning MVP following the season that he won the MVP award. And, it's also, just to let you know, too, this is only the third time it's ever happened in Major League history. The only other time was Eddie Collins in 1911. So it just shows you how rare it is for an MVP to be traded. But the Yankees did it. For the second time, they will be acquiring Giancarlo Stanton, and I really can't believe it. I will. The other day when I was getting my thoughts together on this whole Giancarlo trade scenario where he could possibly be heading to the Yankees, when I was getting my thoughts together, one thing that stood out to me was how much it reminded me of the 2003 offseason. And it's coming back to fruition now as we remember Aaron Boone in that famous offseason after getting a lot of praise for hitting the walk-off home run in Game 7 of the 2003 ALCS. The new Yankee manager was playing a game of off-season basketball and tore his knee up and missed the season, and that paved the way for Alexander Emmanuel Rodriguez to be acquired by the New York Yankees from the Texas Rangers for Alfonso Soriano. And the Yankees would go on to win a World Series with A-Rod. However, it took 5 years, and it didn't come until they added 2 pitchers, CC Sabathia and AJ Burnett. And that's something that really stands out to me right now. I think the Yankees are kind of going overkill on this. Now, I want to see who they gave up, because word still is not out about the players that the Yankees have given up in this trade. I heard that Ellsbury might be included in it. I heard that Headley could be included in it, but probably not both of them. It's probably one or the other. And it's going to be it's going to be very interesting to see who goes in this deal, because if the Yankees are giving up names like Clint Frazier and a couple of these other young guys, man, I don't agree with this deal. I know it's insane to say. I know Yankee fans are excited, and rightfully so. You should be excited. You just got one of the most exciting offensive players in baseball today, and he's still in his late 20s, and you got him to sign to like a 10-year deal. So I understand you being excited, especially having him and Judge in that outfield. That's just insane. But if you're giving up big-time prospects, I would have gone after a pitcher. I would have gone after a big-time pitcher. I've annoyed every Yankee fan I know by telling them that Max Scherzer and Chris Sale, or one or the other, either one of those guys should be a Yankee. The fact that George Steinbrenner is rolling around in his grave right now, that neither one of those guys is a Yankee. He probably just sat up and is doing a dance right now that Giancarlo's coming over. But you know what? Giancarlo Stanton, in my opinion, is not going to be the difference between the Yankees winning and losing the World Series. And I know that's an insane thing to say, but look at the Yankees this year. How much offensive help did the Yankees need? The Yankees had a great offensive year. You had, Gary Sanchez had an incredible year. You had, Aaron Judge obviously had a great year. Stalin Castro hit the heck out of the ball. All the guys that you needed to come through came through this season for you. Now, if the Yankees had gone out and acquired a big-time first baseman, that might have been a different story. I might have said, okay, I could kind of understand that. But this I'm still kind of shocked, to be honest. I really can't believe that we're going to be sitting here next year, and that the New York Yankees are going to have an outfield that is most likely going to include Aaron Judge or Stanton in the corners, whichever way you want to flip-flop them, because I'm sure the Yankees are going to figure out the best defensive metrics for all of them. If it was me, I would have Stanton in right field, and I'd probably put Judge in left field, just because Judge is good, but as you've seen at times this year, he can get a little clumsy in the outfield. So putting him in left field, I feel would take a little bit of that burden off of him. And then you could stick Gardner in center field, or you could rotate Gardner and Ellsbury if you still have Ellsbury, if you still have both of them, because who knows, maybe the Marlins ask for Gardy, which I don't know. The Yankees have the potential of having now two 200 strikeout guys on this team, so that could be a bit of a disaster when it comes to hitting in clutch situations with the runners in scoring position and everything. So it's when it comes to the Yankees here, though, you can never count them out. You can never count them out. When I woke up and I saw that this morning, it really made me feel like when I was a kid, and during those Yankee dynasty years, and I remember one trade. Well, it's obviously not going to be as big of a steal, but I remember the Yankees would just give up nothing and just get these stars. I remember the Yankees traded a Double-A catcher to Toronto, a division rival nonetheless, to pick up Raul Mondesi. Now, I know Raul Mondesi didn't knock the heck out of the ball when he was here, but he still was a high-profile acquisition. And I remember the Yankees did the same thing with Jeff Weaver from Detroit. I mean, the Yankees were just able to fleece these teams back then. Now, it's probably not going to be, the Yankees probably would have to give up more than a Double-A catcher, I would assume, to get Giancarlo Stanton. But when you're picking up a $300 million contract, which the Yankees are doing in Giancarlo, that's something that you're really going to have to work out there, and that's something that you're really going to have to take into consideration. And the thing about the Yankees too is that they seem to have been just a little bit more financially restricted over the last few years. Not maybe restricted isn't the right word, but definitely more financially conscious than they have been in the past 2 decades, really. And it looked like they were trying to get their payroll down to a semi-normal level for the Yankees, which is probably somewhere north of 150, but over 200. But picking up Giancarlo, you kind of just throw that out the window. Although I still think that they're actually behind the Dodgers in team salary. So the Yankees aren't number one, but they're right up there. And it's well, now we're gonna get to see a big show. We remember, well, actually, I don't, but I'm sure a lot of New Yorkers that are still around today that remember the M&M Boys with Mantle and Maris in the early '60s and the damage that they did to the league. And you're gonna get to see two young guys, in Stanton and Judge, that are gonna be swinging. Man, that's gonna be they're gonna be swinging for the fences. You're gonna have two outfielders. Now think about this: the Yankees are acquiring an outfielder that hit 59 home runs last year. In addition to that, they'll be adding him to their already Rookie of the Year outfielder that hit 52 home runs. So, in the Yankees outfield, and that's not even including, Gardy in center field, who hit 20 home runs this year as well. But when you look at it, the New York Yankees are going to have two outfielders that by themselves hit over 100 home runs last year, over 110 to be honest. And I don't know. That's just really unfathomable to me. Now, obviously, I would say the odds that they both put up 50 home runs again are probably pretty slim. Probably pretty slim. Because I think the only two teammates in Major League history that have ever hit 50 home runs for the same team in one season was Mantle and Maris in '61. I could be wrong on that, and I probably should have looked it up before I said it, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I can't think of any other teammates where two guys hit 50 home runs, and not to mention Maris hit 61 that year. But so Yankee fans, you're gonna have a lot of fun this season. You're gonna get a lot of media coverage. You're gonna get a lot of primetime games. You're gonna be playing meaningful baseball from the first time you step on the field. It's gonna feel meaningful in February when pitchers and catchers report. That's how big of a deal this is. And I understand you being excited. Enjoy it while you can. You should be happy about this. This shows that your team is doing everything they can to win. However, I will say that I do believe that they would have been better served getting a top-tier starting pitcher, especially if they're giving up a guy like Clint Frazier. And that's there's nothing you can do about it now. It's basically done. It looks like it hasn't been officially announced yet, and physicals and everything still need to get passed. So there still could be a hang-up in it, but it looks like it's a done deal, and that Giancarlo Stanton will be in pinstripes next season. I never thought I'd say that. And you know what, though? I'd much rather play Giancarlo in 6 games against the Yankees as a Met fan than in 19 like we've been playing him for the last 6 years. So, American League East, have fun with Giancarlo, because I'm sick of seeing him in Citi Field. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our second break of the day. Thank you for joining us here on Coffee with Cramer. We're going to be getting into hockey and basketball when we get back. We're going to do our NFL picks after that. And we'll be right back. Thanks for joining us.
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow. Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you. What? Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but as you grew up,
I should have printed the thing out. I can't even
teaching just
Sorry, man. Thank you.
So you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Interesting and innovative things are happening in teaching today. So it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Find out how you can make more at Discount. Make more. Brought to you by Twitch and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back, and there's the great Chuck Berry with Run Run Rudolph. As we're getting closer to Christmas, everybody. So I hope you got your shopping done, or at least, at least I hope you got a good jump on it. And thank you for joining us here at Coffee with Cramer, right here on Long Island's oldest radio station, WGBB, 1240 AM and 95.9 FM. Don't forget, if you want to check us out, go to the AM 1240 WGBB homepage. Check us out on Coffee with Cramer, listed under the Featured Shows tab. Also, you can check us out on Coffee with Cramer on Twitter. That's COFFEEW Cramer, CRAMER. And you can hear all of our old shows also on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Coffee with Cramer. You could call us up if you want. Check us out on WGBB Studio Hotline, 1-631-888-8811 if you want to talk about anything. And also coming up next is Opportunity with the Vision, hosted by the great Mr. Samuel L. Jackson, so stick around. We got a lot of great stuff here today on WGBB, and thank you for joining us. All right, and right now I want to get into, a little Knicks, little Rangers, as we move forward here. And, the Knicks will head to Chicago tonight to play Chicago Bulls. They're coming off a very nice win on Wednesday night against the Memphis Grizzlies, and I gotta tell you, that game started ugly. I was beside myself at the beginning of that game, the way it looked. You gotta remember too, this team is they were working Porzingis back in the lineup as he'd missed the last few games with his ankle injury, which you gotta let him rehab. With these big men, especially these 7-foot guys, you don't want them going down to any foot or leg ailments. Just remember Yao Ming. That guy's career got it got cut real short because of those type of issues. So the Knicks did the right thing. They sat their star forward for, I believe it was 2 games. Yeah, he missed the Indiana and the Orlando games. He also missed most of the Miami game, but they ended up winning that anyway. But, and you have to remember, too, Tim Hardaway Jr. is out as well. And, it looked like it the last 2 games because they got beat up in Indiana on Monday night, and that was not a fun game to watch. You could tell the whole game that was just, it was just circling the drain, just waiting to go down. It was ugly. And, the one thing I will say that I have liked in when Porzingis was out and he's been given a little more playing time, is seeing Michael Beasley out there. It's very good to see him. It looks like that guy he's playing a little more inspired game. He's playing a little more smart out there. He's getting points. He's hitting threes even, which I didn't even think he was that big of a 3 threat, and he has been. And we'll get back to the game on Wednesday night. That was another great game. And it did not start off good. Like I said, they were down 32-23 after 1. It was still looking kind of ugly going into the third, but the Knicks just went on a run. They outscored them 27-18 after the half in the third quarter, and they didn't look back after that. They cruised on. They came out motivated, and you know what? It looks like Jeff Hornacek does have the ability to heat his team up. Specifically, Courtney Lee. Courtney Lee was on fire in the last game, and a couple people have attributed it to his what he says to his team during halftime. I'll go back to, if we remember the game the day before the day before Thanksgiving, where the Knicks played the Toronto Raptors at Madison Square Garden. They were getting beat up in the first half. They didn't look good, and then out of nowhere they came out in the second half and destroyed the Toronto Raptors. They outscored them 41-10 in the third quarter, including a 28-0 run. And Courtney Lee was the driving force behind most of that. And word is that Jeff Hornacek got in the face of his team, challenged them, and an angry Courtney Lee came out after halftime and basically took it out on the Raptors. And that's what you want. I have a lot of criticisms about Hornacek. I don't like the way that he uses his timeouts. I think he uses them very ineffectively, to be honest. Because there'll be times where the Knicks will be not playing very well. The other team is on, like, say, 17-3 run or something like that, and this guy doesn't call a timeout. He just lets it keep going. And the next thing you know, okay, a 17-3 run becomes a 25-5 run, and then it becomes a 30-7 run. And then you're saying, how did this game get away from us? How are we down by 20 points? Which was the exact situation, earlier this week against, when the Knicks lost in Indiana. It was an 18-17 game. It was back and forth in the first quarter, and the next thing you know, it was 39-21, and the Knicks never were in the game again. And to be honest, I attribute some of that, at least, to the fact that Jeff Hornacek doesn't call his timeouts to give his team a breather and to give them, whatever you want to call it, defensive strategy or motivation or anything along those lines, just to stop them from being in this terrible hole they put themselves in. And there's nothing else you could really say about that, except for the fact that that's one of my main criticisms of him. But I also want to pat him on the back, because if he's firing his team up like this, also his personnel decisions, I want to knock him for real quick, because I don't understand why Noah hasn't been used more. As much as I don't like Noah, Noah actually showed a little bit of enthusiasm when he came off the bench in that first game. So I don't understand. He doesn't play Willie Hernangomez nearly enough. But okay, that's neither here nor there. The main thing is, tonight the New York Knicks play in Chicago against a 3-20 Bills team. You cannot, I repeat, cannot lose this game under any circumstances. I don't care if Kristaps Porzingis is arrested at the beginning of this game. You cannot lose this game to the 3-20 Bulls. Look at this too. You break it down. The Knicks are, they've played 24 games, 16 at home and 8 away. They're 11-5 at home. They're 1-7 away from Madison Square Garden. You got to start rehabbing that record. You got to, because you're not going to make the playoffs playing that badly on the road. You've got to help yourself out somehow, and you could start tonight at 8 p.m. in Chicago against the Bulls. Get yourself back on the right track. You don't have Hardaway, but you've got KP Pack. Get the job done. And then they'll play tomorrow against the Atlanta Hawks at the Garden, and it'll be a 7:30 night game tomorrow. And these two games, the Hawks are not good. I want to get revenge against the Hawks for them beating us in Atlanta a few weeks back on a Friday night game where the Knicks definitely should have won. So 2 games right now, a couple of weak teams, and even LA's coming in after that, Brooklyn Nets. So before you get on this long streak that's coming up around Christmas, or basically right after Christmas, where you're going to be on the road most of the time, just make sure that you get that job done, where you beat these teams you have to beat. Otherwise, you're going to be a 30-win team again on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. All right, and real quick, I want to touch on the New York Rangers, as last night was just it was encouraging from the standpoint that without Mika Zibanejad, they played A very tight game, a very tough game against Washington, but it wasn't enough as they ended up losing 4-2 last night. Uh, just just very disappointing. The Rangers were just outplayed. Unfortunately, they choked when it was the biggest. It was 2-2 deep into the third period, but they just couldn't hang in. And this week started off on a very positive note, as like I mentioned, Zibanejad's been out the last couple of games, but it didn't stop the Rangers as they went into Pittsburgh on Tuesday night and beat the defending Stanley Cup champions 4-3. Made me very happy. They played a very very good game. They blew a couple of leads, but they still got the job done. They got the 2 points. They got in regulation, and this week wasn't about going 3-0. Would it have been, because they got 3 games this week against 3 division opponents. This week was not about going 3-0. It would have been very nice, but you know what? If you want to make a statement, win 2 out of the 3 games. They played Pittsburgh, and they won that game. They played in D.C. last night, and they lost that game. Now you got to complete it. The Rangers play tonight, 7 p.m., against the New Jersey Devils at Madison Square Garden. Get that win. Get those 2 points. The Devils are a point out of first place. There's 6 teams within 1 point of first place in this division. Isn't that crazy? The Devils have 36 points. They're 1 point back of first place. Rangers have 32 points. They're 5 points back. And, this is going to be a close race all season long. The Devils played last night as well, losing to the Columbus Blue Jackets at home. So this game tonight is big. Both teams are going to be in a bad mood from coming off tough losses. This is a chance for the New York Rangers to make a statement from their division. That win against Pittsburgh, I think, really helped establish their cred because, remember, early in this year, they were taking ugly losses to teams like Columbus, to teams like the Islanders, to teams like the Penguins themselves. So to come out and show that you've righted the ship at least to a certain extent, and that you're going to get this job done, that's a big pat on the back to the Rangers. And as annoyed and tough as that game was to watch, especially at the end last night when they blew it, the Washington Capitals are a good team too, and home ice advantage does mean something. So it's just remember the New York Rangers. They're doing this right now all without Zibanejad. Pavelec played in the game against Pittsburgh because Lundqvist had the flu. So Pavelec is finally pitching in. The Rangers now start a stretch where they play 6 games in the next 9 days. So Pavelec, he might get another start or 2 at this point in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be nice to see. This is going to be a team effort. We're going to have to see how AV runs this team, how long Zibanejad is going to be out, because that's definitely not going to be too good. So New York Rangers tonight, Madison Square Garden, 7 p.m. against the Devils. Tune in on on the MSG Network. It's going to be a lot of fun because these 2 teams are right there against each other, and it's going to come down to the wire, no doubt about it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us again. We're taking a quick break. We're going to come back to a little football picks, we're going to continue our NFL talk, and we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time to pick our NFL games and college games for this week. And Week 14 in the NFL is already underway, and this segment is brought to you by our newest sponsor, 5dimes.eu. Check out 5dimes.eu for all the best sportsbook knowledge you can possibly want. Check them out right now. You can go on our homepage at am1240wgbb.com and click on the 5 Dimes banner and sign up today. Last week, I was 2-0 as both of my teams covered in the NCAA, but I was 1-2 and my NCAA in NFL. My NCAA record stands at 13-7. My NFL record stands at 17-12-1. So we'll check it out and see how it goes this week. As today in Ohio State. You know, I really think that there's going to be, it, but you know, basically, what I think is that the basically I think I'm taking Ohio State minus 5.5. You know, I think Ohio State is going to be very good this week, absolutely, and you know, basically what I'm telling you is that I think that it's going to be it's going to be a good week for Ohio State, absolutely, and and also as we turn our attention to this also and of course it's I'm getting frozen up on right now, ladies and gentlemen, on live radio, and but you know what? So we'll move on to the NFL tomorrow, as I'm going to take the New York Jets tomorrow. I'm taking the Jets against the you know, I'm taking the Jets tomorrow. I really think the Jets have a good chance of winning, no doubt about it. They're playing what is it? The Jets are playing the Broncos tomorrow. They're 3.5-point favorites. I expect the Jets to win that game. Oh, okay, actually, it's finally working now. So, okay, we'll get back to the top, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a second chance here. All right, Ohio State minus 5.5 in Wisconsin. We're going to get to that. Oklahoma minus 7 over TCU. We're going to take Oakland tomorrow over Kansas City, plus 4. Dallas minus 3.5 over the New York Giants. And on Monday night, I'm going to be taking the New England Patriots minus 12 over Miami. And, you know, don't forget, if you want to get the best sports knowledge you can possibly get, well, first, get a better computer than I have right now because mine just froze up. And if you want, go to 5dimes.eu.com, fill out your registration today, click on our link through our webpage on the Coffee with Cramer webpage on AM1240WGBB.com, and sign up today and have all the fun you want at 5dimes.eu. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Thank you for joining us right here on Coffee with Cramer.
For more information on adoption, visit Dr. I'm John, a volunteer at United Way. I'm here at Lincoln Elementary School to find out what this place needs. Who knows better about what kids need than kids, right? Let's ask them.
Monster! Laser! A pole! Another guinea pig! More lasers! Sprinkles!
I was thinking more spinach at lunchtime and maybe more exercise. Volunteer, go to UnitedWay.org.
Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate it.
United, brought to you by the United Way and Ad Council.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us right here on WGBB and Coffee with Cramer. And this show is brought to you by, in part, by Universal Armor Systems. Universal Armor Systems is a personal armor company that has revolutionized the ballistics industry. It's the new generation of personal protection apparel, and it's made from the world's lightest and strongest fibers. Their products are lightweight, flexible, and have outperformed all the current body armor that's being used today. Universal Armor Systems are state-of-the-art bullet and fire-resistant technology. This is life-saving technology at its best, people. Universal Armor Systems. Saving lives is what they do. For more info, check out their website at universalarmorsystems.com or contact Stephen, that's Stephen, at universalarmorsystems.com. Don't forget that's Steven with a PH at universalarmorsystems.com. All right, and thank you for joining us here, ladies and gentlemen. I can't thank you enough. We started off earlier today with the snow miser from the year without a Santa Claus, and the reason why is because I thought we were going to be hit with the big snowstorm already. It looks like it's on its way here. They're still saying we're going to be getting some snow, so that should be interesting. Stay safe out there if you're driving around. It should be a little nasty out. Hopefully it's not too bad, but if you don't have to, don't go out because everybody's crazy already. You can already tell. All the stuff's flying off the shelves in the stores and everything. So just take it easy. Kick your feet up and enjoy yourself listening to some Coffee or Cramer right here. And, all right, so we're going to turn our attention to the Jets for a couple of minutes just to end this show. As the New York Jets kept their faint playoff hopes alive with a 38-31 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs last week. They're somewhat in that playoff hunt still, like we just said. The Chiefs, it's been said all week, and I wasn't going to say it because it's been repeated ad nauseum, but one of the things that I do want to say is that the New York Jets were out-jetsed by the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. That's the only way you could put it, because the Jets were ready to settle for a field goal, which would have made it 33-31, and I'm telling you right now, I have zero, let me repeat that, zero confidence that the Jets would have made a defensive stop and, basically, got themselves off the field with the victory, only being up by those 2 points. One of the main reasons why I think they were able to get that job done is the 3 consecutive defensive penalties in the red zone for the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was so frustrating that one of the quarterbacks ended up picking up the 3rd flag when it was thrown and chucking it into the stands. And, that young man's been suspended for the next game by his coach, Andy Reid. It wasn't for that even. It was because after he did that, he assumed he was thrown out of the game and then went to the locker room. So things are kind of falling apart in Kansas City. But after a 5-0 start, Andy Reid, if anybody can get that team going in the right direction again, I believe it could be Andy Reid. And, the Jets were down early. They were down 14-0 in this game. They came back. They showed a lot of fight. Josh McCown had another great game. It seems like every week that I come on, I talk about how Josh McCown had another great game. Who would have thought that in the beginning of the year? You got to tip your cap to the guy. He's 38 years old, and he's playing some of the best football of his career. I'm very happy to have him, and I hope that even if the Jets draft their future quarterback this year, I hope that McCown is brought back next year to groom him, really, to show him what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. That's really what I hope. And, I'll say that for him now. I'm not saying the same for Todd Bowles yet. As much as I think that Todd Bowles has done a great job this year, and he has, there have been a lot of things, too, that annoyed me. That loss in Tampa Bay, I'm not going to let go of that one. They should have won that game, just like tomorrow in Denver. Now, this is a game that us Jet fans have seen this team lose over and over and over again over the course of the year. You look at the schedule. Maybe not at the beginning of the year you would have thought this game was a potential, not easy win, because it's never easy, but a potential game they should win. But when you're going in against a 3-9 Denver Broncos team that's currently riding an 8-game losing streak, the Jets are actually favored. So you kind of have to say to yourselves, all right, let's see where everything falls here. Let's see if the Jets can get this job done. Am I optimistic about it? Yeah. Do I think that they're gonna 100% pull it off? I can't say that. It's there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that go into that, and that's the reason too why a lot of people are already giving Todd Bowles this contract extension. Listen, Todd, I'm a big fan of you, my friend, but you're gonna have to do a lot more than 5 wins this year. Maybe not a lot more, but you have to do more than 5 wins this year to get my nod to come back next year. I know it's probably a given one way or the other, whether I like it or not. But he's not going to get my vote of confidence and tell him 100% positive that he is the right guy going forward. And he's done a lot to say that he is the right guy going forward. Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I did like is that he benched Darren Lee for the game last week. And I'm a big Darren Lee fan. I like Darren Lee a lot. But supposedly he's been having some lateness issues, which is the same reason why Mo Wilkerson was benched for a quarter himself. Now, listen, I'm gonna chalk Darren Lee's up to, just a couple of mistakes. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because this has not been a constant thing with him as far as we're concerned. And actually, coach didn't even confirm that was the reason that he was that he was benched. But most people believe that was the same reason. And Wilkerson, I will say though, this guy, man, I don't understand. He's had these lateness issues over the last 3 years. This is a guy that, I was a big proponent of giving this guy his contract. He earned that money. He had a 12 sack season in 2015. I would have been very upset if they did not bring him back following that year. He had 10 sacks 2 years before that. He had 7 sacks the year before that. So this guy was piling up the sacks. But look at this. In his last 27 games, that's since he signed this contract, he's only had 7.5 sacks. If he was leading by example and getting out there early and doing all the right things and being a great teammate, he could get away with that. It would annoy me, but he could get away with that. When you're not doing those things, you got to play better. And at 4:05 tomorrow, with the Jets, at 4:05 we're really gonna see. At 4:05 we're really gonna see what the Jets are made of tomorrow. Absolutely. And well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems we're winding down here right now. I hope you had a great day. I hope you enjoyed listening to the show today as much as I've done, as much as I've enjoyed doing it for you. We're going to be back here right next week again, right here on WGBB 1240 AM, 95.9 FM. It's my pleasure to be here every week, people. I can't thank you enough for listening. Please check us out on social media, on Twitter at Coffee with Cramer. On SoundCloud, you can listen to all of our old shows. You can hear our interview with Kevin Baez, with Bobo from the Opie and Anthony Show, and just hear me yapping about the whole Yankee playoff run. So thanks for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for Opportunity with the Vision after this, and listen to WGBB all day. They've got great programming. Thank you to Trevor behind the glass, and thank you everybody for listening. Have a great day, and stay safe out there if you're going to be driving around.